Just before Christmas, the Supreme Court delivered a major and unexpected decision that sent shockwaves through the political landscape. In a move that surprised many, it blocked the Trump administration from deploying the National Guard in Illinois for federal immigration enforcement, halting a controversial plan in its tracks. This wasn't a minor dispute, it was a direct and forceful check on presidential authority to use military force within the United States, raising fundamental questions about the limits of executive power. The ruling was especially striking coming from a conservative majority court that has often sided with Trump on immigration issues, making this decision all the more significant. But here, the justices drew a clear and unmistakable line, stating that the president cannot override state control of the National Guard without strong, specific legal grounds and a compelling justification. The court found the administration failed to justify such drastic action, emphasizing that extraordinary measures require extraordinary reasons. This decision, though not a final ruling on the broader issue, sends a powerful message, reminding the nation that even a president with a friendly court must respect legal boundaries and constitutional checks. The case highlighted the ongoing tension between federal power and state sovereignty, a debate that has shaped American democracy since its founding. Illinois argued the president lacked authority to federalize its guard without the state's consent, and the court agreed, at least for now, reinforcing the importance of state rights in the federal system. The decision sets a precedent that will shape future attempts to use the military for domestic law enforcement and could influence how future presidents approach similar situations. The Supreme Court made it clear: presidential power has limits, and the judiciary stands ready to enforce them, ensuring the balance of power remains intact. The legal fight began in October 2025, when a new chapter in the ongoing battle over immigration enforcement unfolded in the heart of the Midwest. The Trump administration announced controversial plans to deploy the National Guard to Chicago, a move that immediately sparked heated debate across the country. Officials in Washington claimed there was a crisis on the ground, violent resistance against federal immigration agents, which, they argued, made it nearly impossible to enforce federal law in the city. This was part of Trump's aggressive immigration crackdown, a policy that had already resulted in hundreds of thousands of deportations and widespread fear among immigrant communities. By sending in the Guard, the White House sought to assert federal supremacy over Illinois, a state known for its strong sanctuary policies and vocal opposition to federal immigration enforcement. Illinois officials immediately pushed back, filing a lawsuit that argued the president had exaggerated the threat and overstepped his constitutional authority by attempting to federalize the state's National Guard. A federal judge sided with Illinois, ruling that the administration hadn't met the high legal standard required to take control of the Guard, and emphasizing the importance of state sovereignty. The Trump team quickly appealed to the Supreme Court, hoping for a reversal that would allow the federal government to override state objections. This legal battle escalated a local dispute into a national constitutional showdown, raising fundamental questions about federalism, the separation of powers, and the limits of presidential authority. The case became a crucial test of whether the president could use state-controlled military forces for federal law enforcement purposes, setting a precedent for future administrations. The lower court's decision, now upheld, set a clear and lasting limit on executive power, reinforcing the boundaries between state and federal authority. The Supreme Court's involvement turned this legal fight into a defining moment for the balance of power in America, with implications that will echo for years to come. The standoff in Chicago became a powerful symbol of the broader struggle over presidential reach, state rights, and the future of American democracy. The Supreme Court's opinion was detailed and methodical, reflecting the gravity of the constitutional questions at stake. The justices took great care to lay out their reasoning step by step, ensuring that every aspect of the law was considered. They focused on a specific federal law that allows the president to federalize the National Guard only under strict conditions. The regular military must be both legally permitted and practically unable to enforce the law. This requirement is designed to prevent the executive branch from sidestepping important legal safeguards. The Trump administration failed the very first step, because the Posse Comitatus Act bars the military from domestic law enforcement. The National Guard can't be used for that purpose either. The court emphasized that this foundational law draws a clear line between military and civilian authority. The court made it clear, the statute isn't a loophole to bypass restrictions on military involvement in policing. Any attempt to use the Guard in this way would undermine the very protections Congress put in place. The majority, including Chief Justice Roberts and Justice Barrett, adhered to a strict, literal reading of the statute. They resisted calls to interpret the law more broadly, insisting that the text must control. Their decision effectively closed the door on using this law to deploy the Guard for domestic enforcement, reinforcing the separation between military and civilian roles. The unsigned per curiam opinion signaled unity among the justices. This was a matter of law, not politics or personal preference. The court spoke with one voice. The ruling stands as a textbook example of judicial restraint and careful statutory interpretation, showing how the court can act as a neutral arbiter even in politically charged cases. The court's logic was straightforward. If the military is barred from acting, then so is the Guard. There's no legal backdoor for executive power. This decision sets a strong and lasting precedent for future cases involving the limits of presidential authority and the use of military force at home. The ruling reinforces that the president cannot use the National Guard as a workaround for legal limits on military power, no matter the circumstances or political pressure. This court's approach was narrow, careful, and deeply rooted in the text and intent of the law, avoiding sweeping pronouncements or unnecessary commentary. Ultimately, it's a powerful lesson in how the judiciary checks executive ambition and upholds the rule of law, even in the most contentious moments. Justice Kavanaugh agreed with the majority but issued a warning. He worried that the court's strict interpretation could tie a future president's hands in a real emergency. Kavanaugh imagined a scenario where a violent mob overruns a federal courthouse and local police are powerless. Under this ruling, a president might be unable to use the Guard to protect federal officials. His concurrence highlights the tension between limiting executive overreach and preserving flexibility for true crises. Kavanaugh hebben trefferd spurs of balls. Note as a reminder, today's solution could create tomorrow's problem. The debate over presidential emergency powers is far from settled. Not all justices agreed with the majority. Justices Alito Thomas and Gorsuch dissented, arguing the court should have deferred to the president's judgment in protecting federal officers. They saw the situation in Chicago as a serious threat to federal authority, and believed the president needed broad powers to respond. The dissenters criticized the majority for being too rigid and ignoring real-world dangers. They argued for a more flexible interpretation that would give the president more discretion in times of unrest. Their opinion reflects a deep divide over the scope of executive power. The dissent will likely be cited in future debates over presidential authority. It's a powerful counterpoint to the majority's strict legal approach. This decision is a major statement from the Supreme Court about the limits of presidential power. Chief Justice Roberts, by joining the majority, signaled that even conservative justices will draw boundaries on executive authority. The ruling warns presidents, the court won't rubber-stamp actions taken in the name of national security. The majority demanded a clear legal basis, which the administration failed to provide. The decision reaffirms that the president is bound by law, not above it. It also shows the court's independence, with conservative justices breaking ranks on a high-profile issue. The ruling narrows the president's options for using the military domestically. It forces future administrations to build stronger legal cases before acting. The decision is a win for federalism and a more limited view of presidential power. It underscores the importance of cooperation between states and the federal government. With this legal path closed, what's next for presidential emergency powers? The Insurrection Act remains, allowing the president to deploy troops in extreme cases, but using it would be unprecedented for immigration enforcement and would spark massive legal battles. The Supreme Court's decision signals it will closely scrutinize any future use of emergency powers. Any move to invoke the Insurrection Act would likely end up back at the court. The ruling may push Congress to clarify these old, vague laws. The future of presidential emergency powers will be shaped by both courts and lawmakers. The decision highlights the need for clearer rules on when the president can use military force at home. Congress may now be forced to act to protect both security and civil liberties. This Supreme Court decision is about more than a legal fight. It's a lesson in American government. It reaffirms that no one, not even the president, is above the law. The ruling protects citizens by ensuring the military isn't used as a domestic police force. It's a strong defense of federalism and the rights of states to control their own guard units. The decision strengthens the judiciary's role as an independent check on power. It reminds us that government power is limited and must respect the Constitution. The ruling is a victory for constitutional government and the rule of law. It ensures that military power remains under strict legal control, safeguarding liberty for all Americans.